There's a 1,000-point decline on the Nifty. We have a couple of stocks which are on our radar. The top Nifty loser today is Trent on account of its fourth quarter update that has come by. But among the few stocks that are in the green, we do have, Godrej Consumer. Again, the reason being its fourth quarter update. So to discuss all things consumption, because we've had a barrage of updates come by over the weekend and before that as well the previous week, we have Abneesh Roy, who's the Executive Director, Nuvama Institutional Equities, joining in now. Abneesh, let's start with the big gash of today. That is Trent, down 15%. Three factors. It's a perfect storm, right? Revenue growth slowing down, the markets itself being weak, and to add to that, the valuation is not very, not very attractive for Trent.
Yeah, thanks. So we had a lot of business updates coming through. Yes, in staples, we did see Dabur disappoint, and definitely Marico and Godrej Consumer were in line, and Adani Wilmar was better. Coming to your question, yes, Trent did disappoint. So what we are seeing is in first and second quarter, almost double-digit kind of a like-to-like growth. And in Q3, it slowed down to around high single. Our sense is around 3% kind of a like-to-like growth Trent would have seen with 28% standalone sales growth. So yes, it is slowing down. I will link it to the broader 2-3 aspects. One, of course, urban slowdown is impacting every category one by one. So no company can remain immune to that. Second, of course, Trent has opened very, very high number of stores in Q4. And obviously that leads to cannibalization because many of the stores could have opened to the existing very high performance stores because a lot of stores do open in existing cities. Third, of course, Trent has had a very, very high base last few quarters. So that issue will be there in the coming quarters also. So we'll wait for how the earnings in terms of the margins come. The margins could be under some pressure. So yes, today the index has corrected for 5%. And that's why we are seeing a very sharp reaction on Trent. But if we see other companies like Jubilant Foods or Avenue Supermart or even Nykaa's beauty business, I think the numbers have met expectation, or in fact, in some cases, they are better than the expectation.
Abneesh, good afternoon. Thank you for joining in. Do you see more pressure on Trent even after a 45% fall that the stock has had from the peak? That's part one. And part two is, since you mentioned Dabur, is there a structural issue that lies with Dabur? There has been a consistent disappointment when it comes to the company reporting numbers in comparison to its guidance.
So coming first to the staples, if you see in the same staples, we are seeing Marico report 6.5% kind of volume growth in Q3 and Q4. So that's a good volume growth. Even Emami is doing quite well. Our sense is even in Q4, Emami, which is a bit similar to Dabur in terms of portfolio, is seeing 6-7% kind of a volume growth. Of course, Emami does gain to an extent because of very harsh summer in some of their cooling products. Similarly, we have seen Adani Wilmar good set of numbers. So I will say Dabur is facing two issues. One, which we have been highlighting very proactively in terms of the Campa Cola impact. Last 3-4 quarters, Dabur has had significant impact of Campa Cola on the fruit juice business. Our sense is even in Q4, you will see sharp decline in fruit juice business for Dabur, in spite of season being favorable, right? This is harsh summer, but it is a Campa Cola impact which is beginning to show on most companies, and even the cola players will see at some stage. This quarter, Varun Beverages will see a good number because clearly harsh summer currently is helping them. But longer term, I think clearly Campa is a risk. Second, of course, is clearly in the toothpaste, we are seeing very, very high promotion. So even in Colgate, for example, we see that almost flattish sales, flattish volume. Dabur again could see slight negative numbers on the toothpaste. That, if you see, had done quite well in Q3. So yes, Dabur, I think, needs to go back to the drawing board. I think McKinsey, overall, what consulting they gave from the next 2-3 years perspective, that's very important. But clearly, competition is a bigger worry there rather than any big specific issue, which I think the company is facing. So that's on Dabur. Coming to Trent, see, currently the market's the way it is, even slight miss of 4-5%, market is in punishing mode. If index is correcting 4-5%, these are volatile times. I would say from a fundamental perspective, of course, Trent remains a very good compounding story. You will see near-term pain of urban slowdown in every category, every company. But 28% revenue growth for Trent will still be sector top tier in terms of the growth. But it is lower than what Trent has seen earlier quarters. So it's a mix of the base and urban slowdown. So to that extent, in the near term, stock could be under pressure, but these are good buying opportunity from a 6 months to 12 months perspective. From a tariff order, from a defensive nature, I think consumption investors will come back. Plus, this year, the good monsoon forecast is there, which should help most of the rural-focused companies. But I think overall, these are good times to buy from a longer-term perspective. Near-term volatility will be high on most stocks, so difficult to predict on that.
Top 3 picks before we let you go, Abneesh? Abneesh,
Yes.
top 3 picks?
So top 3 picks, clearly defensive bias will be there. So we like Marico, we like Imami, we like Pidilite. These 3, I think we have higher visibility in terms of volume growth, higher visibility on the revenue and overall market share. So these 3 are looking good. But overall, the staples should do well in FY26 because crude oil is correcting, key raw material, strong monsoon forecast. So we'll wait for the IMD. And overall, what we are seeing is urban recovery should start in H2, aided by the tax rebates in the union budget. And of course, base effect helps in the H2.
Staples over discretionary is what Abneesh is backing with a defensive bias. Imami, Marico and Pidilite are his top 3 picks. Thank you so much for joining in. With that, we'll take your leave. In fact, we'll take a short break and Manisha comes up on the other side with all things commodities with the news that, we do have almost 10-20 point recovery on the Nifty. It's now down in just 3 digits.